Greetings and good tidings, Lafayette Lions. It's Miss Brady here, and today we are going to be talking about conducting experiments using the scientific method for our scientific investigations. In science, we often conduct experiments so that we can collect and learn information about a certain topic. During our experiments, we'll be collecting some data based on observations that we see. An experiment is a fair test that is created based on a hypothesis, and it will provide information about a topic that we want to explore. Now, in order for us to understand an experiment, we first need to understand all of the different pieces of the experiment. So let's go ahead and learn about those. The first part of the experiment is the question. The question is what we're trying to find out in our experiment. It will be answered once we have conducted our experiment, and it is stated as a question, which is why it's called the question. After the question, we have the hypothesis. The hypothesis is a prediction or guess about the answer to the question. Now, in order to form our hypothesis, we are going to use our background knowledge, which is information that we already know about the topic to formulate what our prediction or our guess will be. When we write our hypothesis, it's going to be stated in a cause and effect sentence. We're going to use the if-then sentence structure so that it can be tested. So we will say, if this happens, then this will happen. After the hypothesis, we have the materials. The materials are the objects that are needed in order to complete the experiment. I like to think of the materials almost as the ingredients of the experiment. I love to cook, and when I make a new recipe, I need to make sure that I have all of the ingredients. When we are conducting experiments, we need to make sure that we have all of the materials so that we can carry out the experiment properly and successfully. After the materials, we have the procedures. The procedures are the steps that we are going to take in order to complete the experiment. The procedures are stated as a list, so we have a little sample here where it says 1, 2, 3, 4. And when we write our procedures, we always start it with a verb. After the procedures, we are going to talk about the variables. In an experiment, there are changes that occur, and these changes will affect the results of the experiment. These changes are known as variables. There are two different types of variables that we're going to be learning about. The first is the independent variable, and these are the changes that the scientists will make during the experiment. So the way that we can try to remember this is that the independent variable begins with I, and it is what I, the scientist, am going to change during the experiment. We also have what is known as the dependent variable, and the dependent variable is the change that happens because of the independent variable. So it changes depending upon what I change. We also have what is known as the constant. Now, the constant are the things that are purposefully left the same. They're not changed in the experiment. So if we want to test how high a ball will bounce based on the height that it's dropped, the constant would be using the same ball and dropping it on the same surface. So these are things that we keep the same throughout the experiment. After we set up our experiment and we identify all of our variables, our constants, and our procedures, we are going to be making observations. Now, observation is a fact that states what the scientist actually sees, feels, tastes, hears, or smells. So these are facts and not opinions. While observing, a scientist is going to collect the information, which is known as data. The data that the scientist collects can be qualitative or quantitative. Qualitative means that we're talking about different qualities. Maybe we're talking about whether or not something changes color or whether a texture changes the way that it feels. Whereas quantitative is talking about numbers. So that could be if we are talking about a temperature change or how long it takes for something to happen. So qualitative data describes the data using words. Quantitative data describes the data using numbers. The last part of our experiment is the conclusion. The conclusion is a sentence that states the results of the experiment and what was learned during the experiment. The conclusion will also let us know whether or not the findings of the experiment supported our hypothesis. The conclusion has to be based on the details and the facts once all of our data has been collected. All right, guys and gals, let's review the steps of the scientific method really quickly. The first step of the scientific method is the question, which is what we are trying to find out by conducting our experiment. The second step is the hypothesis, which is our prediction. We'll say, if this happens, then this will happen. Next, we have the materials, which are the items that we need in order to successfully conduct our experiment. After the materials, we have the procedures, which are the steps that we're going to take in order to conduct the experiment. Then we are going to identify our variables, our independent variable and our dependent variable. But we cannot forget about step 6, which are the constants and the things that are going to stay the same. After the constants, we have the data that we collect during our observations. And the last step is to write our conclusion. All right, guys and gals, that wraps up our scientific method lesson for today. I hope that you all have a wonderful day. Thank you.